Good evening. I'm the Maven of the Eventide, and welcome back to my vampire library, which continues to grow, fed on the blood of vampire books and other things. And Happy New Year! Yes, this terrible year of 2020 is at its end. And how shall we celebrate? With more vampire books. Yes, I've got my stack of new vampire books to share with you. Some of them were holiday gifts, others just you sent to my P.O. Box. Thank you very much. If you are interested in my P.O. Box, the address is in the description of this video. And what do we have first? Oh, Dracula book. Dracula Asylum, a new novel by Paul Whitcover. How new? When did this come out? 2006, so yeah, it's pretty new. A new reimagining of a classic movie monster. Oh, how have they reimagined Dracula this time? Dracula's been reimagined so many ways. I bet this is entirely original and new and not at all derivative. Oh, it's got a Universal Monsters stamp on it. So is it like officially endorsed by Universal? That's interesting. So it's probably based more off the movie Dracula, if I had to guess. Feudal ruler, conqueror, impaler, vampire. Well, guess not. This is going with the Vlad the Impaler was actually a vampire root, which, as we know, as I've mentioned before, is not my favorite and is not at all canon or in any way what Bram Stoker had in mind when he borrowed the name Dracula from the historical Dracula. Anyway. You only think you know the legend of the inhuman creature of the night, but the full story, the complete horror, has been untold until now. Dr. Seward's sanatorium was supposed to be a place of healing, a refuge for the mentally ill, where they could recover from the traumas of their life. That was before the undead monster known as Count Dracula descended upon them, spreading pestilence and death wherever he walked. The fiend was eventually destroyed, and the tormented souls of the madhouse were once again safe. Or were they? Years after his defeat at the hands of Van Helsing and Seward, in the days following the end of the First World War, Dracula is restored to life. Trapped beneath the grounds of the madhouse, his evil reaches out into the minds of the weak and insane. As death claims victim after victim, will anyone be able to stop him? So, it doesn't sound like so much of a reimagining as a sequel. I don't know how Dracula got to be underneath the madhouse. Maybe after they killed him in Transylvania at his castle, according to, the original Bram Stoker book, they took him back and buried him under the asylum for safekeeping or something. I guess I'll have to read it to find out. So, post-First World War Dracula. We got some, Roaring 20s Dracula, maybe? Interesting. Dracula Asylum. Well, I get why it's called that now, because it takes place at the mental asylum, and he is victimizing patients at the mental asylum because he is just that evil. Well, he's Dracula. That's what he do. A lovely holiday postcard that was sent to my P.O. Box. This is a Krampus postcard. It's pretty awesome. Vampire Express by Tony Colts, a special book club edition. A choose-your-own-adventure book. You are the star of the story. Choose from 21 possible endings. It's got this sticker on it. It says free choice chapter book, so I'm guessing this came from a school library that was sold in thrift books that someone sent me. Ooh, it's illustrated. A choose-your-own-adventure vampire book. Nice. About a train. Vampire Express. You're in the heart of vampire country, and there's no turning back. You're on a vampire hunt in deepest Romania with your Uncle Andrew and your friend Nina. Is that supposed to be like Abraham and Mina? You're riding horseback towards an eerie castle when a thick fog rolls in. Suddenly, you're surrounded by wolves. Your uncle races ahead, but Nina is thrown off her horse and disappears into the fog. What should you do? Oh, she's a damsel in distress. Is this book assuming I'm like a strapping young man? Well, it's cool if you're a girl saving a damsel in distress. That's, defying tropes. If you decide to stay and look for Nina, turn to page 54. If you decide to go on ahead with your uncle, turn to page 69. Beware, you might be attacked by deadly vampires, or you might find the magic jewel that will destroy their evil forever. Ooh, a magic jewel. What happens next in the story? It all depends on the choices you make. How does the story end? Only you can find out. And the best part is you can keep reading and rereading until you've had not one, but many incredibly daring experiences. When I was a kid, choose your own adventure books were like the hottest shit. I remember when Goosebumps started transitioning into that, the choose your own adventure Goosebumps. That was my middle school jam, to date myself. Yeah, right when those came out. Oh man, it was so cool. And yeah, now we have a vampire one on a train. When did this come out? Oh, 1984. This is an oldie. Yeah, I mean, Choose Your Own Adventures weren't new when I was in middle school, but that's when they sort of like came back into vogue. This came out when I was only 1 year old. And another Choose Your Own Adventure book. This one's called Space Vampire by Edward Picard. A special book flare edition. More challenging choices. Wow, that is some like retro space cover art. Space vampire. They are in the airlock, which is wide open in front of a sun without oxygen. And the vampire just comes in wearing like a corduroy jumpsuit. Is this 1984 also? Wow, look at this illustration. Can you see that? 1987. You're the star of more than 24 endings. Only you can stop a space vampire from landing on Earth. A bloodthirsty vampire from a distant planet has occupied a spaceship in the outer reaches of the solar system. As the Space Academy's top recruit, it's your job to capture the vampire before he reaches Earth, where the alien creature plans to feast on the planet's population. But as soon as you board his spacecraft, the vampire immediately corners you. What should you do? If you jump into the spaceship's escape capsule and blast your way through the emergency hatch, turn to page 42. If you face the vampire and try to outwit him, turn to page 32. Ooh, I like that this vampire has wits. He's not just like a scary alien monster. Watch out! The space vampire has a strange power over humans. If you're not careful, you could become a vampire yourself. I mean, would that be so bad? Or you might find your way to the vampire planet, where you can negotiate a truce with the vampire chief. Oh, they have a vampire chief. Space vampires. We talked about space vampires when I did a review of the movie Life Force, which you may recall. That was a fun one. Naked space vampires. All I Want for Christmas is a Vampire and How to Marry a Millionaire Vampire, both by Carolyn Sparks. And this is a romance novel series by Avon Romance, and I'm not sure how connected they are. Romance novels and series is usually they'll start with a book, and then that book will end with a happy romance ending for its two main characters. And then the next book in the series often will take a side character from that book, and they'll have their romance. So when you get on to and you could be on totally different characters. Sometimes you really don't need to have read the previous books to read these kinds of romance novels, and sometimes it helps. I'm assuming they're all set in the same world since they all have vampires. But this one, the Christmas one, which was sent to me for Christmas, thank you. Tony Davis's Christmas wish list. Number 1, springing my best friend from the psych ward. Number 2, living somewhere that doesn't have coffins in the basement. Occupied coffins. Number 3, finding Mr. Right. Please make him tall, dark, handsome, and alive. So it sounds like vampire romances are kind of a problem in this universe by book 3. This Christmas isn't so merry for Tony. Her best friend's been locked up in a mental hospital ever since she told the police she was attacked by vampires, and the only way for Tony to get her out is to prove that bloodsuckers really do exist. So, she's taken a job as a bodyguard for the undead, but she gets more than she bargained for, especially when she meets Ian McPhee, a Scottish rascal looking for his Miss Right. Although Ian's nearly 5 centuries... Oh, it's probably Ian since he's Scottish. Although Ian's nearly 5 centuries old, he looks and acts like a 27-year-old hunk. How do you act like a hunk? Please tell me. I need hunk lessons. How can a dead man be so damn sexy? Could Mr. Wrong be Mr. Right? One forbidden kiss could lead to an eternity of passion, and all it takes is one moment under the mistletoe. So it's a Christmas book, but it's also about her trying to infiltrate the vampires to betray them by being their bodyguard and then falling in love with one, which doesn't sound very Christmassy, but I guess it's set during Christmas, so yeah, there you go. How to Marry a Millionaire Vampire. Yes, please. It's just as easy to fall in love with the undead. Nobody said love was perfect. Roman Dragonesti is charming, handsome, rich. He's also a vampire. But this vampire just lost one of his fangs, sinking his teeth into something he shouldn't have. Now he has one night to find a dentist before his natural healing abilities close the wound, leaving him a lopsided eater for all eternity. Oh, how embarrassing. Things aren't going so well for Shanna Whelan either. After witnessing a gruesome murder, she's next on the Russian mob's hit list, and her career as a dentist appears to be on a downward spiral because she's afraid of blood. When Roman rescues her from an assassination attempt, she wonders if she's found the one man who can keep her alive. Though the attraction between them is immediate and hot, can Shanna conquer her fear of blood to fix Roman's fang? And if she does, what will prevent Roman from using his fangs on her? Love could prevent it, if I had to guess, based on what I know about romance novel tropes. The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black. This is a book that I've been hearing about for years and I've always wanted, so thank you so much for sending it to me. Now I finally have it. Oh, the blurb's by John Green. No one writes like Holly Black. Cold Town is one of my all-time favorite fantasy novel settings, so he likes the setting. Cold Town was dangerous. Tana knew. Tana? A glamorous cage, a prison for the damned and anyone who wanted to party with them. Tana lives in a world where walled cities called cold towns exist. In them, quarantined monsters and humans mingle in a decadently bloody mix of predator and prey. And once you pass through Cold Town's gates, you can never leave. One morning, after a perfectly ordinary party, Tana wakes up surrounded by corpses. The only other survivors of this massacre are her exasperatingly endearing ex-boyfriend, infected and on the edge, and a mysterious boy burdened with a terrible secret. Shaken and determined, Tana enters a race against the clock to save the three of them, and the only way she knows how, by going straight to the wicked, opulent heart of Cold Town itself. So is being infected turning into a vampire? I'm guessing this is a YA book. Oh, this part says that it's a 17-year-old. So yeah, considering they call themselves boys and girls, I'm thinking this is YA, though the category in here just says vampires fiction and love fiction. So a YA romance, I'm guessing. But I've heard it is very good, and I've been interested for a long time in reading it. So looking forward to this one. I'm probably going to put it up for the next vote for my vampire book club, which if you aren't a part of, you can totally join. We host it on my Discord server. The link for that is also in the description of this video. We read one vampire book a month from my vampire library. So if it's not a vampire book I own yet, we're not going to read it yet. If you want to read it for a book club, you can always send it to my P.O. box or recommend it to the group and I can get it somehow else. This month, we are reading this book, The Hunger by Whitley Strieber, which the movie was based off. You may have heard of The Hunger, the movie, because I reviewed it on this channel on Vampire Reviews. You can watch that for a reminder. And this is the book that movie was based on, which I've always wanted to read. You have until January 13th if you want to join us to read The Hunger for my book club. It is free. You don't have to pay me or join my Patreon or do anything other than just come to my Discord server and sign in and click the icon and join the book club and read books with us. And then we talk about the books on a live stream on this channel, also free. Just come and join us. Even if you don't read the book, you can still come watch the live stream and hear about vampire books and vampire tropes and vampire history and all the fun things that vampires have brought to our world, because it's been 2020, it's coming to be 2021, and what else are we going to do? The world's falling apart. It's going to be an apocalyptic wasteland soon, you know? I can just build myself a small house made out of vampire books. I have enough of them. Haiku of the Vampire, Book 1 of the Vampire Haiku Chronicles by Arakaki Soto. Honor, redemption, sacrifice. When Misake's father loses his status as Tokyo's most notorious Yakuza mob boss, she travels to San Antonio, Texas to manipulate a Latino vampire named Uriel into siring her. She then returns to her homeland as an immortal, and together, father and daughter reclaim power over Japan's criminal underworld. But then, all hell breaks loose. Misake finds herself on the vampire criminals' most wanted list. The other Yakuza families want her head, and the goddess who created Uriel's vampire coven, the Lady of Dia de los Muertos, wants Misake punished for her ruse. Haiku of the Vampires, the first book in the Vampire Haiku Chronicles, experienced the fusion of Japanese and Hispanic folklore in an epic urban fantasy that begins in the rich Latinx culture of South Texas, parlays into the alluring history of Cajun/African-American New Orleans, and finishes across the sweeping landscape of modern-day Japan. Wow, that is promising a lot. That sounds awesome. I'm pretty sure this is a self-published novel, which, take that for what it's worth. I can't speak to the quality, no quality control with self-published books, but just on premise, that sounds awesome. Oh, look, it's got the Japanese, the Dia de los Muertos, Latinx, and the Creole, Cajun, New Orleans masks. That's so cool. Oh, and it's brand new. This just came out in 2020. It's book 1 of the Vampire Haiku Chronicles, so I'm assuming there's more coming. And of course, I always love more non-white vampires by non-white authors. That's great. Thank you. Dying with Her Cheer Pants On by Shannon Maguire. Stories of the Fighting Pumpkins. I love Shannon Maguire's books. I love her as an author, but I had never heard of this until you sent it to me. Despite its humble origins, there is no more challenging or physically dangerous teen sport in the world than cheerleading. Cheerleaders are seriously injured and even killed at a higher rate than other school sports. Their stunts are performed in skimpy uniforms without the benefit of proper safety equipment, and yet they love them. Glittery eyeshadow, spirit bows, and all. And then there are the Fighting Pumpkins, who take that injury rate as a challenge. Students of Johnson's Crossing High School, they answer to a higher calling than the pyramid and basket toss, pursuing the pep rally that is rising up against mysteries and monsters, kicking gods with the pointed toes of professional athletes chasing a collegiate career. Meet Jude, half-vampire squad leader. Lori, who can compel anyone to do as she asks. Heather, occasionally recreationally dead. Marty, strong enough to provide a foundation for any stunt. Colleen, who knows the rule book so well she may well have written it. And Steph, who may or may not be the goddess of the harvest. The rest of the squad is ready to support them, and brace for the chaos of the big game, which may have a big body count. Prepare to jump high, yell loud, and look pretty with the Fighting Pumpkins, those glorious girls in the orange and green, whose high kicks could still be enough to save the world, and if they're not, it isn't going to be for lack of trying. Ooh, this has a really pretty end papers. I love this. I love books with pretty covers. And this just came out in 2020 also. This is a new book. I love girl power stories, especially ones with half vampires in it, and sounds like it's just basically a Monster Mash, which is my jam. Love me a Monster Mash. It kind of reminds me of Monster High, except they're all cheerleaders and fighting monsters instead of just being catty bitches to each other. This is The Damned by Renee Adia, which is the sequel to The Beautiful, which we read for our vampire book club. If you want to hear all about The Beautiful, go watch my video on it. It was a live stream, but it's still up on my channel. I summarize this book entirely and tell you all my thoughts and opinions on it, along with all the thoughts and opinions of the entire book club. We talked about it for about an hour, and it ends on kind of a cliffhanger, so it does have a sequel, so it's The Beautiful and the Damned. Ha ha ha. These books are set in Victorian New Orleans, which is very much my aesthetic. So what happens in The Damned? I'm assuming this will have spoilers for The Beautiful, but we already talked about that on this channel, so you have been warned. Following the events of The Beautiful, Sebastian Saint Germain is no longer human. Yes, he had to become a vampire at the end of the first book. He was the hot guy love interest in the first book. Like the rest of the Fallen, that's what they call vampires, Bastian is now cursed to walk the earth forever, hungry for blood, and after breaking the tenuous peace his uncle had brokered with the Brotherhood are the werewolves, and his uncle is a vampire, the famous vampire Saint Germain of New Orleans lore, which is like a real thing in lore. You can look it up. Promising never to bring another vampire into New Orleans, war between the Fallen and the Brotherhood seems imminent. But Bastian is too obsessed with his lost humanity to care, and thoughts of Celine, who is the protagonist of this book, it's all from her point of view for the most part. I guess this one's from the guy's point of view, though there were some chapters from his point of view in this book, who ensured his life by giving up all her memories of him and any claim on his heart, haunt him. Bastian decides Celine paid too high a price and sets about unmasking himself, intent on finding his way back to her. Celine, meanwhile, recovering from the attack on her life, is still gravely troubled by the events of a night she struggles to remember, and she can't help feeling that everyone is lying to her about what happened. When, at last, she crosses paths with Bastian, now a stranger to her, she feels an inexplicably intense emotional reaction to him that leaves her bewildered by desire. It's probably not that much desire because this is like kind of a teenage book. As Celine tries to puzzle out her connection to Bastian, one she knows he felt too, forces lurking in the shadows finally strike out, threatening not only Celine and Bastian's relationship, but their lives. This next chapter in the beautiful series is as perilous and romantic as the first. It is a very pretty book. It's got the New Orleans quarter map in the front cover, purple this time. The other book had red. It doesn't have the etched front cover, though. I guess they were trying to save money this time, but it's still very pretty. Love the purple. Love the book cover. Well, I gotta find out what happens after she lost all her memories at the end of this book. Will she fall in love with the vampire boy now that he's actually a vampire? Yeah, I'm sure she will. But what if they die? The Steins by James D. Lee. Follow Mary Jade Von Stein as her world is turned upside down with the murders of her parents. Now Mary must go to a faraway kingdom and live with her distant royal family. How will Mary adapt to a strange country and her family when her family is all a bunch of monsters, mostly vampires, werewolves, and other undead creatures? How will Mary survive and cope with living with them? And what of the assassins who seek to kill her? Who knows, there may be more to Mary than just your typical southern tomboy. You will have to find out in this fast-paced romantic horror story. Oh, so it kind of sounds like the plot of the Munsters, where, you know, they have the normal girl coming in and moving in with the Munsters, only probably less zany and hilarious. And this book was sent to me by the author. Thank you. You inscribed it to me. Elisa, love your YouTube channel and hope you enjoy my book, Vampires Rock. Thank you for sending this to me. I love a monster mash. Anything where you have all the monsters together sounds very awesome to me. The Steins is the first in a trilogy of books set around Mary Jade Von Stein. Follow Mary in this epic story of tragedy and trials as she grows from a young teenage girl into a beautiful and strong-willed lady. With the help of her distant family, can she overcome everything to finally find happiness in her life after her parents' murders? Or is she doomed to face the same fate as her parents? Ooh, to be murdered? Who wants to murder you, Mary Von Stein? This book also came out in 2020. A lot of new books this time. The Dark Angel by Meredith Ann Pierce. Book 1 of the Dark Angel trilogy. The Dark Angel. Ariel is kidnapped by the Dark Angel, a black-winged vampire of astounding beauty and youth, and taken to his castle keep. There she must serve his 13 wives, wraiths whose souls he has stolen away. Ariel knows she must kill the Dark Angel before he takes his 14th bride and comes into full power, but she is captivated by his magnificent beauty and intrigued by the spark of goodness she sees inside him. Will Ariel risk damning all of humanity to save the Dark Angel's soul, or can she end his reign of beautiful terror before he can find his final bride? This is one of those classic vampire books from the early 80s. Yeah, 1982. I have actually read about half of this. A friend loaned me a copy of The Dark Angel a couple years ago, and I read about half of it and kind of lost steam and didn't get through it. So now I have a copy of my own. I can finally go back and finish it and find out what happens if she does save him or fall in love with the Dark Angel, aka vampire. It's book 1 of a trilogy, it says, so I'm assuming, she does, and more happens. But yeah, if you hadn't heard of this book before, put it on your classic vampire books you should read to understand the development of vampire fiction into what it became in the modern era. 1982, one of those formative works. For young ladies. The Complete Sookie Stackhouse Stories collection by Charlaine Harris. So, Charlaine Harris wrote the Sookie Stackhouse Southern Vampire Mysteries series. They're murder mysteries. Oh, hey, there's Charlaine. She's so pretty. And there's 13 books in that series, 15. I have read them all. I thoroughly enjoyed them. I have talked about them a lot in my reviews of True Blood, the TV series. I've done 3 videos about True Blood so far, and I talk about the books that they're based on. And these are all the short stories. So Charlaine Harris wrote a bunch of short stories set in the Sookie Stackhouse universe, and they kind of fall in between the books in a certain order, but they were usually only released in collections where you would buy a collection of a bunch of other authors' stories, and there would be one Sookie story in there. So you'd have a dozen or however many stories there are in all these different books. So they finally took all the Sookie stories out and put them in their own book and compiled them together, and now we can just have this book and read it. And I'm very pleased to have this because it has a new introduction by the author, and I think does it have a bonus story? All the stories for the first time together in one volume. Here's the complete short story collection starring Louisiana's favorite telepathic waitress, Sookie Stackhouse, from the #1 New York Times bestselling author Charlaine Harris. New fans can fill in the gaps in their Sookie lore, while old friends can revisit some of their fondest moments and characters. From investigating the murder of a local fairy, to learning that her cousin was a vampire, from remodeling her best friend's house to attending a wedding with her shape-shifting boss. Sookie navigates the perils and pitfalls of the paranormal world. Belly up to the bar at Bon Temp's beloved watering hole and hear stories that will make you wish Sookie never left, including Fairy Dust, Dracula Night, One Word Answer, Lucky, Gift Wrap, Two Blondes, Small Town Wedding, If I Had a Hammer, Playing Possum, In the Blue Hereafter. The definitive collection is the perfect binge read for people who like their stories with a bite. You don't have to have read the Sookie Stackhouse books to be able to read the story. Watching True Blood might help. I've read about half of them already in other versions, so I'm very excited to read the rest of them. This book came out about 3 years ago, and it just took me this long to finally get it. So. Now, these aren't vampire books, but I got them as Christmas gifts, and they're kind of dark, spooky, gothy books, so I figured I'd share them with you because I know you love them as much as I do. This is a coloring book called Phantomorphia, and it's got, kind of spooky goth things. Oh, like skull hourglass. Can you see that? Where's the one that I really liked? The Bat. I have the Dracula coloring book, the adult coloring book in the style, and I have the Edgar Allan Poe one. And there are some other really goth ones that they make, and I kind of want them all. My main problem with books like this is that I love them so much that I don't want to color in them because then I can't have them. You can't have your book and color in it too. And I'm not that great at coloring, so I'm afraid I won't do it very well. Maybe I just need practice. Twisted Myths, 20 classic stories with a dark and dangerous heart. So this book takes classic myths, Greek myths, Hawaiian myths, African myths, Egyptian myths, and reimagines them, rewrites them with dark, spooky, gothic twists. Traditional myths get a dystopian makeover with these all-new interpretations from award-winning nominated fantasy author Maura McHugh. 20 sinister legends that linger on the mysterious and macabre. These are the tales that will keep you awake at night. Full-color, brooding illustrations accompany each story and heighten the gothic mood. Features popular tales from Greek and Norse mythology, as well as ominous lesser-known legends from Asia, Africa, and the Americas. Eros and Psyche, Lord Ganesha, Prometheus and Pandora, Maui finds death. There's a lot of cool stuff in this, and I like that it's not just all Western European legends too, so it sort of goes all over the world. Do any of them have vampires in them? Maybe. I just love pretty books. Look at this art in this book. The colors. I actually found this book and bought it for myself. It was on the bargain shelf at Books A Million, I love shopping on the bargain shelf at big chain bookstores because all the like spooky goth things that no one else wants that I want, the like misfit books, that's where you find them. Also got this there. This is The Dark Days Club by Alison Goodman, and it's not vampires, but it's a gothic novel, and it's got like demon life-sucking creatures, so it could be like vampires, like that, vampires, but they just don't use the word vampire. That's how it read to me. She must make her choice, save her reputation or save the world. London, 1812. 18-year-old Lady Helen Rexall is on the eve of her debut presentation at the royal court of George III. Her life should revolve around gowns, dancing, and securing a suitable marriage. Instead, when one of her family's maids disappears, she is drawn into the shadows of Regency London. There she meets Lord Carlston, one of the few chosen to stop the perpetrators, a cabal of demons that has infiltrated all levels of society. Carlston is not a man she should be anywhere near, especially with the taint of scandal that surrounds him, yet he offers her help and the possibility of finally discovering the truth about the mysterious deaths of her parents. Soon, the two of them are investigating a terrifying conspiracy that threatens to plunge the newly enlightened world back into the darkness. But can Helen trust a man whose own life is built on lies? And does she have the strength to face the dangers of this hidden world and learn the truth about her family's legacy? Set in the glittering social world of the Regency upper crust, The Dark Days Club is a supernatural adventure that introduces New York Times bestselling author Alison Goodman's Lady Helen Rexall. I love this end paper. So it's like Jane Austen meets demons, vampire-like creatures. I'm going to count it. It was just a pretty book. I love pretty books, gothic stories. And Jane Austen style stuff, definitely my jam. This is the Phantom of the Opera graphic novel that just came out. And this was a Christmas gift to me from my good friend Lindsay Ellis. And I know this is not a Phantom of the Opera channel. This is a vampire channel. But we talk about Phantom of the Opera anyway. I did a video about all my Phantom of the Opera comics and books and graphic novels and everything long ago. I want to say not long ago, but it was long ago. And I need to do an update because I've gotten so many more Phantom books that I have to tell you about. But this is a vampire books video. But this was so cool. I had to share it. It's just look at this art. Full color art. Phantom of the Opera. Everything you can want. This just came out. The artist is... Where's his name? Why is your name not on the front of your book, artist? Oh, here it is. Varga Tomi. So, Phantom of the Opera by Varga Tomi. Very cool. Now, on to the non-books. I got a few things. This is Shiki, which is an anime, which I've heard a lot about and people ask me about all the time. I have not watched a lot of vampire anime. Obviously, I've watched Hellsing and Vampire Knight, which is on Netflix. Now, there is an interesting anime. Castlevania, the first season. Yes, I will watch the second and third seasons because I know the fourth season of Castlevania is coming soon, and you all want to hear what I have to say about it. I will. I'm getting back to scripted reviews on this channel. I'm actually currently working on a review of 4th, 5th, and 6th Darren Shan books. You can see I've been making notes. And that's coming up pretty soon. That is my next video for you. And then after that, we'll do Castlevania seasons 2 and 3. This is the complete Shiki series, episodes 1 through 22. Cool. The psychological thriller that will send you to bed with a cross in hand. When citizens of a secluded village begin dying off in alarming numbers, the Seoul Hospital's head doctor tries desperately to save his patients. But his efforts are in vain. Entire families are wiped out while others desert their homes. All hell breaks loose as the villagers discover their loved ones' corpses are rising from the grave with an insatiable thirst for human blood. Haunting, hallucinogenic, and unnerving to the core, Shiki stares into the hearts of both the hunter and the hunted. Who is safe when the urge to kill in order to survive blurs the line between man and monster? Oh, I didn't realize it was a gothic story. Yes, please. I gotta watch this. Who wants to watch Shiki with me? It's the super amazing value edition. Maybe that's why the font is so hard to read. This is an Elvira face mask, so I can put, some sexiness on my face. I don't want to wear it now because I don't get lipstick all over it, though I feel like Elvira would approve of that. It's a very good quality mask. This was also sent to me by Lindsay for Christmas. No, Elvira is not a vampire, but she's like the whole inspiration for my shows, so she counts. I got another Funko Pop. This is Vlad Dracula Tepish, the Castlevania edition. Yes, I will watch the rest of Castlevania, because now I have his Funko. Look how cute he is, to add to my very small Funko collection. Let's see, what do I have now? Now I have the Phantom of the Opera Funko. As far as I know, there's only one Phantom of the Opera Funko. If there's more than one, let me know. I have Edgar Allan Poe. I have Morticia Addams. I have Elvira reclining on her chair, and I have a tiny Elvira from the Funko cereal box. And now I have Dracula. Oh, there's also Adrian, Sifa, Blue Fangs, and Trevor. I do not want the Trevor Funko. The rest seem pretty cool. I always feel bad taking these out of the boxes because the boxes are so cool, but you know, they look better on my shelf when they're unpacked. Phantom of the Opera Christmas ornament, also sent to me by Lindsay. This kind of folds open so we can see him there. Okay, let's launch Shaney as a Phantom of the Opera. I have a lot of Phantom of the Opera Christmas ornaments. And I think what I want to do next Christmas is just have a Phantom of the Opera Christmas tree. That's just Phantom ornaments, you know, in addition to my like regular family tree. But I don't want to take him out of his box. Not a vampire, but that's okay. We make an exception for the Phantom. Oh yeah, this is a copy of my book, which you know I talk about all the time. But this is a hardback copy, which I had never owned before. I only owned paperback copies of my book and the audiobook. You know, they don't just like give you copies of your book. I would have had to go out and buy a copy of my own book or like, you know, get one for the cost rate from the publisher. But my brother, my awesome brother, sent me this hardback copy of my own books, and I actually own one. And the dust jacket is just so pretty. Have you guys seen this? Or did you all just read the ebook, which is like free to read if you have Kindle Unlimited? So if you haven't read my book, The Company of Death, by me, you have a Kindle Unlimited, you could just go read it now. Or you could not read it and just, you know, flip the pages and give me credit for it. Oh my gosh, there's an excerpt. They put an excerpt on the inside of the jacket flap. I didn't even know they did that. This book has been out almost 2 years, and I did not know that. Would you like to hear the excerpt from my own damn book? Struggling with every last shred of energy, Emily pushed to her feet, but the zombie moved too quickly. A fast one? Here? How? Its teeth flashed through the beard on its warped gray face above a throat covered in puncture wounds. No! A deep echoing voice cried out somewhere behind her. She's mine! The vision of death reappeared over the path, diving through the air toward her. Time stopped. The scythe fell from his hand as if through water, and the skeletal fingertips stretched from shadow sleeves. From The Company of Death. I wrote that. It's been so long. Yeah, I know. I've talked about this plenty. You don't want to hear any more about it. Unless you do, let me know. I love talking about my book. Ask me all the questions you want. I just love this hardback copy. Love that it's gray like a tombstone. Yes, I know you're all going to ask me, when's book 2 coming? Well, you know, the pandemic slowed things down. It is coming. Don't worry. As soon as I have a date, I will let you know. Books 2 and 3 are in the pipeline. The last thing I want to share with you tonight is this, which one of you sent me for Christmas because you love me so much. I've already opened it. I boxed it up so that you could see me open it, but it's just, this is going to blow your mind. So, gently. Gosh, you guys. It is a preserved black rose, a real rose, in a bell jar to sit lovingly on my Gothic shelf. And according to the card that came with it, it will last for a while, but not forever. So it is a precious thing to cherish for as long as I can. It looks like it's made of velvet. It's got the thorns, leaves, a real rose. It's just gorgeous. I love it so much. It's so me. I almost cried when I opened this. Thank you so much. If you like vampire books and want to read vampire books with me, come join my Discord server, join my vampire book club, or if you just want to hang around while the rest of us read the vampire books and hear what we have to say about them, you can do that too. There is no pressure, no obligation. Everyone is welcome. The Discord is for everyone, where we talk about vampires. My Discord's got like 500 people in it, but it's such a chill Discord. It doesn't have drama, which apparently is unprecedented for Discord. So yeah, if you want a chill, spooky, gothic-friendly Discord, come join mine. Otherwise, I will see you on the live stream where we talk about the next vampire book for our Vampire Book Club, The Hunger by Whitley Strieber, the basis of the movie. And look out soon for my next video, which is going to be on books 4, 5, and 6 in the Cirque du Freak, The Vampire's Assistant series. As soon as I finish taking all my notes, because it's got some interesting ideas about what it means to be a vampire in this series. After that, I'm going to be talking soon more about The Strain. I was doing a series where I was reviewing every series of The Strain, and then we got into an actual pandemic of horrifying proportions, and I needed a break from that, if you can understand that. But, I think I'm ready to sort of like get back to The Strain and the horrible plague pandemic narrative that is that movie. And, maybe with some new insight. And then I will be doing a review on season 1 of Hemlock Grove. That's coming up soon. And what else? Oh, I've been playing Coteries of New York, which is the Vampire the Masquerade storytelling visual novel game. Playing that on my channel if you want to catch up on those videos and see what I think of that video. I just released a video that I had made privately for my Patreon patrons in March about the World of Darkness documentary, which is a scripted vampire review video that I made for this channel, but I didn't make it public until now. It was private for 9 months on my Patreon. I will be making another private video just for my Patreon patrons in the future as well that will then keep private. So if you want to see stuff like that, to see videos ahead of time, join my Patreon, come hang out with us. Let me know what you want to see reviews of in the comments. Let me know what vampire books I should add to my vampire wish list for the Vampire Library, what you maybe want to read for the Vampire Book Club, or just hear us talk about. I hope you all had a happy holiday season, and I hope you will have a wonderful new year. Your New Year's resolution should be to read more vampire books.